Independent conservative candidate Larry Bill hails from his hometown of Jackson, Missouri in Cape Girardeau County. Disappointed with the actions of both major political parties in Congress, Mr. Bill decided to take a different route to public service. This local businessman worked to get on the ballot as an independent candidate. Without party support and a modest $5,000 budget, Mr. Bill's organization strived to meet the state of Missouri's criteria of collecting 5,000 signatures of registered voters in the 8th District. After the final tally, nearly 6,700 submitted signatures actually counted. Mr. Bill is the only independent candidate running for the United States Congress in the entire state of Missouri. To avoid lobbyists and major donor influence, only Mr. Bill and his wife have contributed financially to his campaign. Larry grew up on a farm in West Cape Girardeau County. He graduated from Jackson High School and Southeast Missouri State University. He went to the Air Force to become a pilot, where he gained 3,900 hours of jet experience. Lieutenant Colonel Bill deployed to the Middle East on multiple occasions. Larry left active service and joined the Air Force Reserves. Recalled back to active duty after September 11th, he supervised the transport of supplies and personnel to the battlefront from the headquarters of the Air Mobility Command in Belleville, Illinois. Lieutenant Colonel Bill retired from the Air Force and now runs a real estate business in Jackson. He and his wife of 32 years have 3 married children. They also have one 3-year-old grandson who is the center of their universe. Larry has a master's degree in public administration. He is currently president of the board of directors of a small mutual insurance firm. Larry serves his community where he volunteers to advocate for foster children in local court systems. Larry Bill believes his experience raising a family, serving the military, and running a business has prepared him to understand and correct the challenges facing our nation. He plans to judge legislation by his adherence to the Constitution.
Joanne Emerson has been a resident of Southern Missouri since 1979, and she has served Missouri's 8th District in Congress since 1996. During that entire time, her campaigns for office have used the slogan, "Putting people before politics," a philosophy that reflects her commitment to Southern Missouri and to our nation. Representative Emerson is known throughout the state for conducting one of the most complete and responsive casework operations in the country, helping her constituents with their concerns ranging from the Departments of Veteran Affairs to Social Security and Medicare. She is a tremendous advocate for Southern Missouri agriculture and manufacturing, flood protection, and transportation infrastructure. In addition, Representative Emerson is one of Congress's leading conservative voices on ending illegal immigration and controlling both the size of government and the scope of regulations written to restrict American businesses and families. Finally, she is a leader in healthcare solutions, who is at the center of the debate over how to reshape U.S. healthcare policy to lower costs for patients, expand access to prescription drugs, and extend the longevity of Medicare without cutting benefits. She is endorsed by the National Rifle Association, the Farm Bureau PAC, the Veterans of Foreign Wars PAC, Missouri and National Right to Life, and the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Representative Emerson is a tireless advocate for common sense tax policy, personal freedoms, our men and women in uniform, and the Southern Missouri Congressional District she represents in Congress.
Tommy Sowers was born and raised in Rolla, Missouri, where his grandfather started the local newspaper in 1942. Tommy has a twin sister, Allie, and 2 older sisters. Growing up, he enjoyed hunting, fishing, and playing sports. After graduating from the public school system, Tommy was able to attend Duke University thanks to an ROTC scholarship. There he studied leadership and trained for a military career. Tommy spent 11 years on active duty in the Army and obtained the rank of Major. He first deployed to Kosovo to lead a group of combat engineers in peacekeeping operations. Later, he trained to be a Special Forces officer, graduating first in his class. In 2 deployments to Iraq, he commanded an A-team of 12 Green Berets and was awarded the Combat Infantryman's Badge and 2 Bronze Stars. From 2006 to 2009, Tommy served as a professor at West Point, where he taught cadets American politics and the Constitution. After returning home to Rolla, he taught in the political science department at Missouri S&T. Today, Tommy lives 2 doors down from his parents and attends Christ Church in Rolla. You can find Tommy on the campaign trail, traveling in his big green truck with his dog Chuck.
Okay, that's not gonna work. Rick Van Dieven, the Libertarian Party candidate for the U.S. Representative from the Missouri 8th Congressional District, is the very busy husband of Darlene and father of 3 daughters, Autumn, Amber, and Rory Beth. Outside his family and work life, Rick is supporting his local parochial grade school, St. Ambrose, and Chaffee. Currently, he serves on the bingo committee and helps with the girls' basketball team. In the past, he has served as president of the Home and School Association and was chairman of the school's biggest fundraiser. The annual dinner auction in 2005 were with the help of generous friends, neighbors, alumni, fellow parents, and parishioners, and other supporters. They raised over $45,000 for the school. Rick served as the president of the St. Ambrose Men's Club, a parish fraternal organization that raised funds for a variety of causes and donates time, tools, muscle, and sweat to several projects around the parish and community. Rick also enjoys donating his musical talent to a number of charities, including Kenny Rogers Children's Center, American Red Cross, and several individual benefits. Rick is a member of the Knights of Columbus and Campaign for Liberty. He has worked on the Ron Paul presidential campaign and is involved in Adopt a Highway. Rick has always lived and worked in Southeast Missouri. His campaign was recently endorsed by the Boston Tea Party, an accomplishment that he is very proud of. If elected to U.S. Congress, Rick Van Dieven will focus on reducing the $13.5 trillion debt through creative and courageous methods based on individual rights and free market.
Would the candidates please approach their respective podiums? Good evening. All answers will be timed, and the timekeeper will show and call time. If all 4 questions have been asked and answered and time remains before closing, a 5th and final question will be asked. Again, no rebuttals during questioning, and all 4 candidates will have 5 minutes for closing remarks. The rules and format have been explained. If there are no further questions at this time, let's begin Missouri's 8th Congressional District debate. Congresswoman Emerson, with the growing perception of the undue influence of large contributions to political campaigns, lobbyists, and political action committees, how would you restructure campaign funding?
There's absolutely no doubt that campaign finance has grown to a disproportionate amount and certainly takes up far too much time in dealing with, instead of dealing with the work that we must do in the Congress. And quite frankly, it might, in a perfect world, it would be wonderful if we could go to the same kind of system that the Europeans have, particularly the British, but unfortunately we do not have a parliamentary system in Congress, because basically what the parties do there is spend 6 weeks for campaigning, and they have a set amount of money that they can in fact raise. Particularly, I believe last count was somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 18,000 pounds, which would be about double that in the United States. It's an interesting way of doing business, and I think that it actually might work, except for the fact that it is most definitely an incumbent protection type of system because you run as a party member as opposed to an individual. I am very proud of some of the funds that I have gotten, particularly from the Farm Bureau, from the operating engineers who build our roads and our bridges. I'm very proud of the fact that I have been able to raise more than half of my funds from Missouri, mostly from the 8th Congressional District. Unlike my opponent, Mr. Sowers, who's raised 80% of his money from Hollywood, from New York, and from people outside Missouri, whose motives I question, given the fact that I don't understand why they would be interested in southern Missouri, because they support the agenda of Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, higher taxes, a new health care law that puts bureaucrats in charge, environmental regulations that would decimate rural Missouri and the Midwest. But nonetheless, it's certainly an important subject for discussion, and I am opposed to allowing corporations to keep pouring money in without public disclosure.
Thank you. Mr. Beal, would you like the question repeated?
No, that's fine. Thank you. You know, this independent run that we did, whenever I decided to run for Congress, I looked around and I said, well, how do we normally send people to Congress? And I figured out that, well, what you do is you get with a major party, and since we're talking about financing, I'll focus on that. But you try to get lobbyist money, you try to get major donor money, you ask your best friends for money. And essentially, what I was trying to avoid was the same impact, because, you know, if your neighbor pushes you out of the ditch, they're going to look for that thank you. So whenever you get a big donation from either a lobby, a political action group, a major donor, in-state or out-of-state, they expect access, and they expect you to follow through on their programs. And I thought, well, why not do it different this time? And that's why we ran our campaign the way we did. I decided that only my wife and I would contribute to our campaign, and that we would use creativity and our own initiative and hard work to get ourselves on the ballot. And you'll notice that when you change the paradigm, it is possible. Right now, the two major competitors spent at least $500,000 on their campaign, and I spent $5,000 of my own money on my campaign, and all four of us are standing here. We made it to the final four to be on the general ballot, so that whenever you go vote, I'll be among your choices. Now, as far as campaign finance reform, I really think it's counterproductive. I think it does help incumbents, and I think that probably the best system is to have an absolutely free system. Because having had just very limited experience with the Federal Election Commission that I have, it's a very cumbersome method, and it favors those who can afford a good accountant. So that's my opinion on campaign finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sowers?
Well, I'd like to start off and thank Mineral Area College and everyone that's viewing and here this evening for organizing this event. It is clear that we need to change how we finance these campaigns, because currently we have government of, by, and for the lobby instead of, by, and for the people. I'm proud how we have conducted this campaign and funded it. 97% of our funds come from 4,000 individuals from all around the nation. And my travels have taken me all around the nation, and people, while none of them I agree with me 100% on all the issues, they agree with me that we need new blood in D.C., that we've got to stop these bailouts, that we need to end these wars.